Hey guys, wanted to do a review on a knife. This is kind of be a review on two knives since it's the same knife but it's two different sizes. It's on a knife that, well, actually a company that doesn't get much love, and honestly they deserve it. This knife deserves it. The Cold Steel American Lawman deserves it. Cold Steel deserves it. They may do really funky advertising, marketing, you could call it, if you're generous. They do some pretty wacky blade designs, and they just make some all-around strange stuff, like the boomerang and the blowgun and throwing darts and stuff. Just kind of odd. But in the sea of strange, there are a few gems, and these two knives are a couple of gems made by Cold Steel. It's the Cold Steel Voyager. Both of them are in AUS 8A steel. Both of them utilize the Andrew Demko Triad lock. Both of them have gravity handles, and both of them have clip point blades. Pretty much the exact same knife, except one is scaled up. This is the Voyager medium, this is the Voyager large, and then there's an extra large. Initially, I didn't really like this knife. I talk with another YouTuber, GunDude73, on here. He's grown to be one of my really good friends, although I've never met him. I talk to him more than I talk to my real life friends, if that makes sense. Me and him are constantly texting back and forth about knives and stuff like that. He ended up getting the Cold Steel Voyager at the Cold Steel parking lot sale, and he liked it. He sent me a picture of it and talked about how much he liked it, so I started to like it. Fast forward to this weekend, or rewind to this weekend, and I picked it up, and I had a lot of store credit, so I got these for pretty much nothing. They're cheaper knives to begin with. I'm getting into the cheaper knives right now because I don't have a lot of income. I actually don't have really any income to speak of that isn't allocated towards living. I am in school full time, so I can't work that much. So I can't be buying Sabenzas and Hinders and ZTs and all that stuff constantly. So I want to get into the lower end stuff and see what there is to offer. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad stuff. It's just lower end stuff. These two knives are excellent. I don't know what I want to talk about first. I guess I'll talk about just the overall form factor. It's a standard clip point blade, and it's a fairly thin package, and it's just overall very ergonomic. The medium version is just big enough for me to get my 4 fingers in there, and I would say I have medium hands. I don't have extra large hands by any means, but I don't have small hands. I mean, as you can see, I don't have really small hands. I'm just barely able to fit my 4 fingers in here, and if it was any smaller, then it would be uncomfortable for me to grip. But in its current state, it's not uncomfortable. It's actually a very intuitive grip, and with this iron cross pattern you have on the gravity handles, it's actually very grippy. It's not so grippy that it hurts your hand, but you do get a very positive grip on the knife, and it's not going anywhere. That's the medium. This is the large, which has much better ergonomics for me since it is a bigger handle. I would venture to say that it's going to have better ergonomics for most everybody. Same deal, crosshatch pattern on the gravity handles, not too thick. It's just a nice meaty chunk in your hand, and it's very good to grip. You really feel like you have something solid in your hands. I guess for the rest of the review, I'm just going to talk about the medium, since that's the one I've used. I'll talk about this one when I need to make a point, but comes with a standard black painted pocket clip, which is easy to polish up if you want to. It is drilled for tip up, left and right hand carry. The clip is strong. It's a little too strong in my opinion. It could stand to be bent out just a little bit if you prefer it. It will chew up your pants if you don't lighten the clip a little bit, because it is extremely strong, which I kind of like anyway. I would rather have to bend a clip out than make it have more retention. Blade shape lends itself to cutting. Standard clip point. I don't have to explain to you how well a belly like this cuts. If you follow me, you're into knives, and you use knives, and you know that this subtle or upsweep where the belly is just cuts very, very, very well. Both knives have a really thin grind at the cutting edge. They start thicker, as you can see. This one's probably 3 mil, this one's probably 2 mil. They start thick at the spine, but they get very thin at the edge, which takes advantage of a US 8A's toughness, and it also makes it cut very well because there just isn't a whole lot of steel at the cutting edge, and it means that these knives do what they were meant to do very well, which is cut. And I've done a rope cut test with this knife, and I can tell you firsthand, it does cut very, very, very well. It has a lot of slicing ability. It has a nice stone wash on the blade. It's actually very nice looking. It hides scratches really well. You can see just barely some scratches here from the rope. It hides them fairly well. I mean, as you can see, very attractive stone wash on the blade. It is made in Taiwan, so that could be something that turns a couple people off, but honestly, Cold Steel is an American-based company, so it's not like all of your money is going to a foreign country. I guess I can get off the blade. Made of AUS 8A, cuts like crazy, and it does hold its edge. It's a very, very, very good EDC steel. One of my favorites. It gets extremely, extremely sharp. Possibly one of the sharpest steels that I've ever used. And when I mean sharpest steel, I mean it takes a keen edge. It takes possibly the keenest edge that I've ever been able to apply to a knife. So, pretty awesome EDC steel. Moving away from the blade, well, I guess I need to say one other thing. Thumb stud. You have this thumb stud design, same as the American Lawman. It's just two halves that screw together. This is actually different than the American Lawman. This has equal parts on each side, so it's 100% ambidextrous, and you don't have to adjust it if you're a lefty. Getting into what could be called one of the most important parts of a folding knife, which is the lock. It's the Andrew Demko Triad lock, and it is unbelievably strong. It's not arguably the strongest lock on the market. It is the strongest lock on the market. It's almost fail-proof. There's no way to make it fail under normal use. Let's put it this way. I would feel 100% comfortable with stabbing with this knife. I would not be hesitant to do anything with this knife. I know if something fails, it'll probably be the blade and not the lock. The lock is definitely the strongest on the market. It's essentially just a back lock like you see on this Spyderco Endura, but instead of having the blade and the lock meet flush like that, you have the lock bar, then you have a stop pin, and then you have the blade, and the blade sandwiches the stop pin in between that and the lock bar, and essentially condensing the story down. This stop pin absorbs both positive, which is cutting pressure, and negative pressure, which is pressure on the spine. It absorbs both of those pressures without putting any pressure on the locking surfaces, which are down here. So your triad lock is coming in and hooking into the blade tang like this, but any pressure exerted on the knife is routed to the stop pin, which is then routed to the rest of the handle. so you have no forces actually exerted on this locking portion right here. So it's pretty much fail-proof. There's no other way to put it. Overall fit and finish, it is made in Taiwan, and it is a lower end knife, but don't let that fool you, because it's honestly very well put together. It's surprising really how well this knife is put together. Everything is flush. There's no burrs from machining marks. There's no flashing on the plastic from the mold. There's nothing wrong with the knife. Honestly, I've looked it over looking for things to complain about, and honestly, there's nothing. If you could complain about it, the lock bar doesn't meet flush back here. There's a gap, but I don't even know if that's a fit and finish issue. That may just be design. That just may be the form of it. These junctions right here where the plastic meet are all smooth, no burr, nothing. The liners meet flush on the inside with the handle. I don't know if there's enough light for you to see that, but they meet flush. Everything is just really, really, really put together well on this knife. Talking about lockup, this knife actually confuses me, because there's no pivot bushing in here. It's just a normal pivot, and the blade goes around it, and you have two washers, but there is absolutely zero blade wiggle in any direction, vertical or horizontal. None. When I mean none, there's not even the slightest inkling of a wiggle, period. It literally feels like a fixed blade when it's open. I don't even know how Cold Steel manages to do that without a pivot bushing. There are a lot of $300 and $400 knives that can't accomplish that without a pivot bushing, and this knife is like $40. I honestly don't know how they do it. Same for the Cold Steel large Voyager. This thing has absolutely no blade play in any direction. None. But the blade, as you can see, swings freely. How in the world does Cold Steel manage to do this without a pivot bushing? There's no blade play vertically or horizontally, yet it swings freely. That is a testament to their Taiwan manufacturers' fit, finish, and quality level. These knives are excellent, excellent, excellent quality for the price. Even if these knives cost $150, I would still be saying the same thing. If you took this platform, and I'm going to parrot what Gun Dude already has said, if you took this platform and added S30V and G10 and kept everything else as constant, these two knives would be unstoppable. They would be some of the most desirable knives on the market. And you may not believe me when I say that these knives are put together well. I strongly urge you buying one and testing it out for yourself. If you don't like it, sell it off and chalk it up as a learning experience. Call me an idiot if you want to. But I really think that you'll be impressed with these knives. With that said, Cold Steel doesn't actually manufacture any knives. They design and implement the knife. Implement meaning get somebody else to make it, and then they ship it back here and sell it to us, which it works for them. I mean, they came up with these two knives, and they are superbly executed. Superbly. I'm really, really impressed with this knife. Just the fact that it swings freely is quite amazing. And I have the pivot tightened down pretty far. I mean, I've got it to where the knife feels like a fixed blade when it's open, and yet if I can disengage the lock all the way, and yet it will swing freely. Geez, my thumb's getting tired. There we go. That's one of the only knocks against these knives is the Demco lock, the Triad. It is such an aggressive back lock. It has a really strong spring. It will wear out your thumb if you sit here and constantly flick the knife like I do. Just doing this over and over again, the lock is really, really strong, and it will begin to wear on your thumb. So overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give these two knives a 9. And that means 3 for 3 for Cold Steel, the American Lawman, and these two knives. They're all a win. So, good job, Cold Steel. This is a long review, so I think I'll wrap it up here. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.